Why is Kamala Harris and her husband Dougie, why is Tampon Tim and his wife Broomhilda, why are they trying to pretend they're normal, average, everyday Americans at a convenience store buying Doritos? That's not who they are. Why do they pretend they're something they're not? Shouldn't they be like at an abortion clinic, showing us the various operation rooms and how the thing works and so forth and so on? That's who they are. Or shouldn't they be like interviewing their friends, the Hamasians, a.k.a. the Hamas terrorists? Show us the Hamas healthcare ministry, who shares their numbers with Kamala and Tampon Tim and the rest of the media and the Democrats, and they spew them. Show us who these people are, this Hamas health ministry. Where are they? Where are they even located? Who's in charge of it? I mean, that's what they should be showing us, what they actually believe in. Or maybe have a party. They could have a party with all the illegal aliens they've let into the country, or all the criminals who they've let out the back door through bail. And she, of course, you'd want to include the rioters and the arsonists from BLM who she helped bail out. I mean, that's who she is. That's who they are. What's this stuff at a convenience store, Doritos? The only way she should be at a convenience store is it should be in L.A., and it should be in the midst of a robbery where people are running in and stealing everything because of Prop 47, which she promoted, which provides that if you steal anything that's $950 or less, it's just a misdemeanor. And, of course, the Soros prosecutor there, of which she was one before there was even a Soros, lets them out of prison anyway. Why don't they show us who they really are rather than, oh, we're at a convenience store, there's Doritos. And yet this is what we get. We don't get the fact that Kamala Harris met secretly with the Jew-hating, American-hating, anti-Semite mayor of Dearborn, Michigan. Did you know this, America? Are you aware of this? It's reported by our friend Joe Pollack at Breitbart. Vice President Kamala Harris secretly met last week. And why secretly? Why didn't she do anything? Because she doesn't want you to know. With the radical anti-Semitic mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, in an effort to court Muslim and Arab American voters, not just any Muslim and Arab American voters, those who are supportive of or related to terrorists. Terrorists. Hamas's terrorism. The meeting was reported by the Associated Press, buried within an article published on Saturday about the so-called uncommitted group of voters, particularly in Michigan, who are trying to push the Democrat Party in an openly anti-Israel position. And they're succeeding. And they're succeeding. I saw our friend Jessica Tarloff on Fox predicted that Democrats get 70% of the Jewish vote, and they'll continue to get 70% of the Jewish vote. Is that right, liberal Democrat Jews? Is that right? None of this bothers you? It's all okay? Just curious. The AP reported top Democrats have spent weeks meeting with uncommitted voters and their allies, including a previously unreported sit-down between Vice President Kamala Harris and Mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, in an effort to respond to criticism in key swing states like Michigan, which has a significant Arab American population. Has she ever sat down with Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn, New York, Mr. Producer? Never. Has she ever sat down with Orthodox Jews in South Florida? Never. What's that all about? During a campaign trip to Michigan last week, Harris met with Abdullah Hammoud. Abdullah Hammoud, a 34-year-old mayor of Dearborn, a Detroit suburb that has the largest number of Arab Americans of any city in America. The meeting was disclosed by a person who was not authorized to discuss it publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. Yeah. You know, doesn't want to get hurt or anything. Person familiar with the meeting didn't provide specific details, but said the focus was on Harris's potential policy if elected on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Mayor Hammond declined to comment. Well, what does that tell you? That told you she met with them. She was meeting with the anti-Semite, Jew-hating, Israel-hating mayor of Dearbornistan, while Donald Trump was meeting with Jews in New Jersey, condemning anti-Semitism, talking about the need to support Israel so they could finish off the terrorist group Hamas. Now think about the contrast. It couldn't be bigger. Harris has actually initiated her openness to a possible arms embargo, indicated, I should say, telling anti-Israel activists she would consider a discussion on the subject before her campaign later issued a statement. All this after-the-fact campaign statement crap is irrelevant. But the news is that Harris met secretly with Dearborn Mayor Abdullah Hammond. Hammond posted a statement on Twitter on October 7th, in which he appeared to justify the mass murder of Israelis by Hamas, even while he claimed to oppose violence against innocent civilians. He posted Israel's decades of illegal military occupation and imprisonment of Gaza. Let's stop a second. Gaza was Egyptian. The Israelis defeated the Egyptians. Gaza became Israeli territory. Israel didn't want to keep it. Israel gave Gaza to the Palestinians, who never had any tie to that land whatsoever. It's on the Mediterranean. It's actually a beautiful strip of land, or at least was. And they turned it into a terrorist island, a terrorist territory. Israel doesn't occupy it. Israel gave it to them. Israel has trapped millions of Palestinians in Gaza in what is recognized by the international community as the world's largest open-air prison. No, it's not. But he said it nonetheless. Failure to recognize this context is the inability to comprehend what is unfolding overseas. And he goes on. Now, once again, the Gaza Strip was never Palestinian any more than the rest of Israel was ever Palestinian. It's never been Palestinian. He also gave a radical anti-Semitic speech at an extremist anti-Israel rally last November. His remarks were reported by the Middle East Media Research Institute, MEMRI. He said on November 29, 2023, the new generation of Palestine, founded by Michigan comedian Amir Zir, held a rally marking the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people in Dearborn, Michigan, which was streamed live on the organization's Facebook page. Abdullah Hammond, mayor of Dearborn, spoke at the event. He said Dearborn is a city of resistance. He said the question is not whether his community will vote for Biden or Trump in the 2004 president election, but whether Biden listens to them or to the constituents who stuff his pockets with money. He specifically said this is the city of protests, the city of resilience, the city of resistance. That means the city of course, Hamas, among others. If American democracy depends on our current president being reelected, then why is being bedfellows with the terrorist Netanyahu worth sacrificing American democracy? And he goes on. The term resistance is used by Iran-backed terrorist groups like Hamas to refer to themselves as part of the axis of resistance. The image of donors stuffing politicians' pockets with money evokes classic anti-Semitic stereotypes, the false claim that Jews buy congressmen. Dearborn is a known hotbed of radicalism. The Wall Street Journal op-ed called it America's jihad capital. In October, just days after the Hamas terror attack on Israel, local Muslim community leaders staged a pro-Hamas Free Palestine rally within days, even before Israel went into Gaza, at which the one speaker who mentioned the word peace was booed off the stage. Harris has hired an anti-Israel liaison to the Jewish community, a liaison to the Muslim Arab communities who has a history of radical anti-Israel activism, including denying the extremist anti-Israel protests on college campuses are anti-Semitic. And as former President Trump pointed out Saturday, Harris declined to name Josh Shapiro. There's a big article on this that was in the New York Times, by the time you muscle your way through that damn piece, they conclude in so many words that that Shapiro wasn't picked because he was Jewish. Even though Shapiro, as Michael Rappaport said, tried to un-Jew himself and is still trying to un-Jew himself. He's going to speak at this convention. Notice one other thing, America. These protesters who are pro-Hamas, anti-Jew, anti-Israel, and by the way, anti-American in a very, very big way. Notice one other thing. They didn't bother protesting at the Republican convention because there's not a Republican in the House or Senate that I'm aware of that is persuadable to support Hamas or the annihilation of the Jewish state. There are plenty in the Democrat Party. And the fact that Kamala Harris met in secret with one of the leaders of the Destroy Israel crowd, the mayor of Dearborn, in secret. She has said so many things, as I pointed out in my monologue Saturday on Life, Liberty, and Levin, who she surrounds herself with, how she's a special pleader for Iran. Is Tarloff right? 70% of Jews will still vote Democrat? I say as a Jew, if that's true, then we are suicidal. Absolutely suicidal. And by the way, I heard somebody say today that the Israelis are in favor of two-state solution. No, they're not. Since October 7th, they reject it for obvious reasons. On kibbutz, a lot of liberal Jews live. A lot of Jews who supported a two-state solution. It's not a solution. It's a final solution. But in any event, they actually had Palestinians working for them, and many of those Palestinians were going back into Gaza, telling Hamas all about the layout of the kibbutz, who was in charge of what, where the women and the children were, who had arms, and all the rest. And many of them participated in the slaughter of October 7th. So even for fairly left-wing Israeli Jews, they don't trust the Palestinians. Gee, I wonder why. But a lot of left-wing Jews in America will see the vote and will know. But they're okay. They trust them for a two-state solution because they don't live there. Do they? The marquee story here is that Kamala Harris met in secret at least once. I am told twice, but I can prove once. With the anti-Semitic, river to the sea, radical, Hamas-supporting mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, to try and get their votes. And their demand to get their votes is to boycott Israel. And I'm telling you that their influence on her is massive. She's not an empty vessel. She's one of them.